to really think about these characters. You can't actually ever follow any of these characters all the way through the book and go, yeah, I'm totally on your side. You're the guy I'm rooting for. Because somewhere along the way, every single one of them is going to let you down. Maybe they have to, but they're going to let you down. So, The Poison Throne was very dark, was very political, was very contained. The next book, The Crowded Shadows, much wilder. And the thing I love about it is, it takes everything we had in The Poison Throne and it turns it on its head. I don't know if you've read The Poison Throne, but Razzie, he's the kind of guy, he's lovely, but if you're his friend or his girlfriend or his sister or whatever, if you're someone he loves, he'll put you in a cardboard box and he'll wrap you up in cotton wool and keep you in his pocket, whether you want him to or not, because he's not going to let you get into any danger. In this book, and him and Wynne, they know the rules, like I said already. They know the rules, they know where they're going, they know what every word means when it comes out of their mouth, they know which thing to eat at dinner, they know what way to turn down this corridor. Chris knows nothing and they protect him all the way through the first book. They go out into the wild and what are they? They're not the protector lady anymore. They're not the Lord Razzie. They're just an Arab and a girl. In a world where an Arab and a girl is not really what you want to be at the moment, particularly a girl. Not only that, they aren't protected by any of their knights. They don't know which way to turn, and they suddenly find themselves in a world where if someone wants what you have, they walk up to you, they pound you on the top of the head, they take it and they walk away. The person who does know how to live in this world is Christopher. Not only that, Christopher's people turn up. And Razzie and Wynne find themselves not only in a situation where they're now depending on this guy which they've spent the last book protecting, but they're depending on his people, to whom they have nothing in common. They don't understand the gestures, they don't understand the rules, and half the time they don't understand the language. If these people want to turn off the communication with them, all they have to do is start speaking Merrin, and that's it. Wynne and Razzie are completely in the dark. Not only that, Christopher isn't telling them everything, just as they didn't tell him everything in the first book. And now they are the ones lost, and they are the ones dependent, and everything is upside down. So I thought I might read you a little section from that, because Tom said he really wanted one, so I'll read you a small section from The Crowded Shadows. I'll kind of set it up to you a bit, if that's okay. In The Crowded Shadows, I don't know if anyone's read The Poison Throne here, but Chris, he's missing the middle fingers of his two hands. And these were, it's hinted, removed by a group of bandits, what we've taught our bandits, called the Loup-Garou. They're actually a kind of a werewolf. They are a group of organised bandits, but they're also werewolves, and this is their uniting thing. This is why they are all together as a tribe. While they are travelling through the wilds, trying to find Razzie's half-brother Alberon, who knows the absolute truth behind the turmoil, the political turmoil in the kingdom, and they're determined to find him so he'll tell them what's happening, and they can perhaps heal the rift between him and his father and stop this previously tolerant society from falling into tyranny and chaos. While they're travelling to find him, they're attacked by the Loup-Garou, who turn up out of nowhere, and for no reason. And as a consequence, they have to take shelter with this group of Merrin, who they've met in a tavern. And the Merrin, they seem pretty willing to look after them, but Christopher won't have any of it. He would rather go back out into the wilds again. He'd rather face these people who caused his father's death, who cut off his hands despite his fingers, despite him being a musician, and who enslaved the women that he considers his sisters. He'd rather go back out into the wild and face them, for reasons that he will not tell Razzie and Wynne. So he persuades them, they trust him, he persuades them to leave, and on the morning that they're leaving, something happens. The warhounds that the Merrin have, these great big, they're the actual predecessors of what we would call wolfhounds, and they actually did exist, and it actually was a thing where only this only the Irish were allowed to own them. In this book, it's the Merrin. And they are warhounds. They will literally take, this is actually what warhounds would do, and how they fought. They would take your head off your shoulders. It was how they were trained to fight, because the Celts were foot soldiers. The warhounds that the Merrin had shoot off into the woods. They're screaming and shouting and stuff, and they realise that they've caught spies. So instead of leaving, Razzie and Wynne and Christopher run after the warhounds, and all the Merrin follow them into the woods, and this is what they find there. This is from the chapter Protection from the Credit Shadows. They ran deep into the trees, following the noise. Winter could hear Ulfnar yelling at his hounds, and then Embla, and then unmistakably Ashker, snapping orders and whistling. Razzie, dashing furiously ahead, came to a sudden halt. The awful, pained shrieking of that horse was right in front of him now, and Razzie took an involuntary step back from the sound. Winter ran up to him, pushing through the bushes to get past, and he flung an arm out to keep her back. "No," he said. Christopher came to a sliding stop, staring past Razzie, his face appalled. Impatiently, Winter battered Razzie's arm from her path and stepped forward. 3 Merrin warriors were standing in a frozen semicircle around the horse, and Winter stepped between them, her sword dangling uselessly by her side. It was a fine chestnut cob, at least 15 hands and deep-chested, a handsome, sturdy mount. The hounds had gutted it and torn at its throat, and then left it while they pursued its rider. Its entrails were tangled in its feet, and it was on its knees, moaning now in a high, inhuman kind of way. As Winter watched, the horse lowered its forehead to the ground as if in prayer. There was blood on its lips and in its nostrils, and its breath came in snorting, agonized guts. Its ornate tack jingled lightly with each shuddering breath. Razzie knocked against Winter's shoulder as he pushed by, heading for the sound of human suffering further on. Christopher came to her side, his face blank, his eyes on the snarling wolf skin that decorated the horse's rump. "Jesus," breathed Winter, staring as the poor horse tried to rise to its feet. Its hoof slipped, pulling its own guts further from its torn belly, the long intestinal loop steaming in the morning air. The horse exhaled a weak, agonized whinny. "Jesu," Winter whispered again, her gorge rising. "Salvanos." The horse blew another gusty breath and shuddered and slowly toppled to its side, its legs spasming helplessly. At that, everyone seemed to rush forward. Winter stooped with the Merrin as they huddled around the poor creature, and she helped 2 of the men take the bridle. They heaved on the horse's head so that its neck was stretched taut. Then a woman stepped over it and slit its throat in one quick slice. The horse's blood sluiced out onto the forest floor, spreading darkly across the matted leaves, and almost immediately the painful tension left its body, and it relaxed, its strong legs curling inwards, its final breath bubbling from its gaping throat like swamp gas. Winter stepped back, but the Merrin did not release their grip on the bridle. The men kept the wound stretched, allowing the blood to flow freely, and the women stroked the creature's quivering neck as its life ebbed from it. Winter looked at Christopher across the growing scarlet tide of the horse's blood. He had stepped forward, gore splattering his boots, and he was staring at the wolf's head. It glared at him, its silver teeth glistening in the new light. "Mucuro," thought Winter. She took in the horse's tack, travelling light, no saddlebags, no bedrolls, no camping equipment. She looked out into the trees, settling her sword in her hand. That means they can't be more than a day's ride from their companions. These were scouts, spiralling out from a central camp, looking for something. Spies. Winter glanced back at the brutalized animal. Spies, she thought, just as we had intended to be. This could have been us. The sounds up ahead were calmer now, men and women calling to each other in unhurried tones. That man had stopped screaming.